Well, hello, everyone. This is Nanette Kennedy with Evolution, Revolution, and Humanities Team, and we are reading Communion with God by Neil Donald Walsh. And glad to see so many people here, and everyone is welcome. And Linda, I'm going to have you tell us what page we're on.
Okay, so we are in the beginning of chapter 4, and that is on page 46.
Okay, and then if you're not speaking, put yourself on mute. You want to repeat that? Because I kind of...
You just cut out, but yeah, page 46.
Okay, thank you.
Chapter 4.
Okay. All right, you can begin at any time.
Okay. Union with God, the illusion of insufficiency. And this is God speaking. This is the fourth illusion. Insufficiency exists. It arises out of the third illusion. For without the idea of unity, the idea of insufficiency is insupportable. If there is only one thing, and that is all that is, be no insufficiency of any kind, because that one thing is everything, and thus it is sufficient unto itself. This is a statement of the nature of God. This is not, however, the experience of humans. This is not the experience of humans, because humans imagine themselves to be separate from God and separate from each other as well. Yet no human is separate from God. God is everything that is. Therefore, humans are not and cannot be separate from each other. This is a statement of the nature of humans. It would be inaccurate to conclude that the idea of disunity was a bad idea, that it did not serve your purpose. Indeed, the idea of separation was a blessed idea, allowing the whole to understand that it was the sum of its parts, and even greater still. The illusion serves your purpose magnificently when you use the illusion as a tool to create experience.
Linda, you're breaking up. You're breaking up an awful lot. At least for me. I don't know for anybody else, but
I'm not sure what to do about that, because I'm on the phone. I've got, okay, let me turn my Wi-Fi off and see if that helps. Okay, so now I'm just on cell.
Okay.
Do you want me to reread?
I don't think we need to start over. Unless, what does the majority think?
Just the last couple of sentences would be good, if you please.
Okay.
Thank you.
This is a statement of the nature of humans. It would be inaccurate to conclude that the idea of disunity was a bad idea, that it did not serve your purpose. Indeed, the idea of separation was a blessed idea, allowing the whole to understand that it was the sum of its parts, and even greater still. The illusion serves your purpose magnificently when you use the illusion as a tool to create experience. When you forget that separation is an illusion, you imagine that it is the real state of things. The illusion no longer creates the experience, it becomes the experience. It is like feigning anger to make someone else more solicitous, and then actually becoming angry. Or feigning interest in someone in order to make someone else jealous, only to find that the illusion of interest has become very real indeed. The device becomes the experience. By this process, you have come to actually believe that you are separate, that disunity is possible in the unified field you call the universe. Now, I have described the third illusion as the most powerful illusion, and that is true. It has had enormous impact on your day-to-day experience. Most significantly, your belief in separation has led to your idea that there is not enough. When there was only one thing and you knew that you were that one thing, there was never a question of there not being enough. There was always enough of you. But when you decided that there was more than one thing, then and only then could it appear that there was not enough of the one thing, of the other thing. This other thing that you think there is the stuff of life. Yet you are life, and that which life is, which is God itself. Still, as long as you imagine that you are separate from God, you will imagine that you are something other than what God is, which is life itself. You may think that you are that which lives, but you will not imagine yourself to be life itself. This separation of itself from itself is what you have called the casting out from the Garden of Eden. Suddenly, where once there was eternal life, now there was death. Suddenly, where once there was abundance, now there is not enough. Hang on, I need to cough. Suddenly, it seems that there are many aspects of life competing for life itself. This is impossible in ultimate reality, but not in your imagination. You can even imagine that you are in competition with the birds, with the bees, with every other living thing, and all other human beings. You could create a nightmare in which all that supports your life seems to limit it. Thus, you will actually attempt to subdue that which supports you. You were told to have dominion, but you have decided that this means domination. So you actually have begun war with nature and with the natural order of things. You have used science and technology to twist and turn and manipulate nature so that it bends to your will. You are slowly destroying nature as it naturally is in an attempt to experience yourself as you already naturally are. You already are what you seek to be, eternal, unlimited, and one with all, yet you do not remember this. And so you seek to subdue life in order that you may have more abundant life, and you do not even see what you are doing. Life becomes a single denominator. Everyone wants life and the support and the things that support life. And because you think there is more than one of you, you are afraid that there may not be enough life to go around. Out of fear, you produce your next imagined reality, death. A life that you thought to be eternal until you imagined that you were separate. It never occurred to you you would not always be, now seems to have a beginning and end. This is the illusion of insufficiency played out at the highest level. The experience of your life, beginning and ending, is really nothing more than the onset and the dissolution of your idea of yourself as separate. At a consciousness level, you may not know this. At a higher level, this is always clear. It is at this higher level that you seek to end the experience of separation, to remind yourself that this is an illusion you have created. Though I have told you many times, it is a good time now to discuss once more why you have created it. You have created the illusion of disunity in order to experience the reality of oneness. Only when you are outside the reality can you experience it. When you are part of the whole, you cannot experience yourself as the whole because there is nothing else. And in the absence of that which you are not, that which you are is not. In the absence of cold, hot is not. In the absence of tall, short is not. If everything is short, then nothing is short, because short does not exist as something that can be known. It may exist as a concept, but it is not a concept that you can directly experience. It is only an idea, never your experienced reality. Similarly, the absence of disunity, unity is not. If everything is experienced as unified, then nothing can be experienced as unified, because unity does not exist as a discrete experience. It is not something that can be known. It may exist as a concept, but it is not a concept that you can directly experience. It can only be an idea, never your experienced reality. In this context, you cannot know yourself as who you really are. Yet it is our wish to know ourselves as who we really are. Thus, we must first create the experience of who we are not. Since we cannot create this experience in ultimate reality, we must do so through illusion. In this way, we can rejoice in what is really so and know it. In this way, we can experience who we really are, the all of it, the one and only. We are the collective, the single reality in multiple form, having taken multiple form that we might notice and experience the glory of our single reality. This is a simple explanation of the purpose of reality, which I have given you many times in our ongoing dialogue. It is repeated here so that you may understand it thoroughly, so that you may awaken from your dream. Until you awaken from your dream, the illusion of disunity from life will create a perceived need to survive. Before separation, you never questioned your survival. Only when you stepped away from me, from life, and imagined yourself as separate, did life itself become that of which there was not enough. You began to make decisions about what you felt you had to do to survive, to have more life. This became your primary goal, your new basic instinct. You even began to think that the reason you coupled with others was to guarantee your survival as a species. You lost sight of the fact that you coupled in response to the only real instinct, which is love. You have called your new basic instinct the survival instinct, based on your idea that you might not survive. This idea is false, for your survival is guaranteed forever, and even forevermore. Yet you do not remember this, and so do not think there is enough life, given that there are so many aspects of life competing for it. And indeed, that is how you see it. You imagine that you are in competition with all the other stuff of life for life itself. You are competing with your very self for more of yourself. You believe in insufficiency. Your belief in insufficiency has even led you to conclude that there is not enough God. Not only is there not enough life, which you translate into a belief in death, and not only is there not enough of the stuff of life, which you translate into belief of lack, there is not even enough of that which created life, which you translate into a belief in a limited God. Because all of these things are limited, you must compete for them. And you are destroying your planet and yourselves because of this belief. You are even destroying yourselves in your competitions for God, which you call religions. You have been killing yourselves, sometimes seeking to annihilate entire civilizations in your insane competition for God. You do not admit that you are doing these things, because to admit it would be to acknowledge that there may be something inaccurate about the way you view life and the world, and particularly about the way you view God, and this you have not been able to do. Such an admission would require enormous humility, and humility is not presently a large part of your planet's philosophy or theology. Your theologies in particular have been most arrogant, assuming and proclaiming to have all the answers, leaving no questions and entertaining no doubts. Yet something about these beliefs is not working. The idea that there is not enough God, not enough of the stuff of life, not enough life itself, has led to more than simple competition. It has led to brutal repression, to suppression, and to massive depression. Religions have repressed frank and honest inquiry. Governments have suppressed dissent, and millions of people live as a result in both economic and psychological depression. All of this has come out of the idea that insufficiency exists. For sufficiency would solve all of this. If you thought that there was enough to go around, there would be no more self-destructive behaviors, no more fighting over resources, no more squabbling over God. But there is not enough. About this you are clear. Still, if there is not enough, how does one get enough? How can survival be assured without killing and squabbling? Clearly, there is a flaw in the fourth illusion. This should have revealed the idea of insufficiency as false. But humans knew at some very deep level that they could not give up the illusion, or something very vital would come to an end. Again, they were right, but again, they made a mistake. Instead of seeing the illusion as an illusion and using it for the purpose for which it was intended, they thought they had to fix the flaw. It was to fix the flaw in the fourth illusion that the fifth illusion was created.
Thank you, Linda.
You're welcome.
Does anybody have any beginning thoughts? Am I the only one who has a problem remembering consistently that we are on one? I mean, I know it in my head,
but actually feeling it is something I have a problem with.
Oh, I don't think you're the only one. I don't walk around all day thinking we are all one, we are all one, we are all one. Um, so I don't think you're the only one.
Yeah, we've all been conditioned, starting at a very early age in the illusion of separation.
And I would even go so far as to say that for most of us on our journey, we have moments where we really feel the oneness. But as a rule, I think we can often just be caught up in multitasking and our jobs and our children and our homes and you know, I can guarantee you when I'm walking up the stairs with a basket full of laundry, I'm not thinking about oneness. So I think that's part of it too, is that we've become so busy that's where I think it becomes easy to forget that we're all one. Over.
I think, Sam,
Hi, Ann.
I think it's also, it's a form of construct. Sorry, my voice is, there, maybe that's back, okay. A form of construct, because it's like, if you think about it, originally God wanted to get to know himself, so he created, from the light of his face, he created Adam. Okay. Without other, we wouldn't exist, because if it was just me and all I knew was me, there would be nothing to reflect off of. But by having other, it's a reflection off of me. So to be oneness means that I have to dissolve and lose myself into all things. But the reason that separation can happen is because I claim that there's something, I hope this is coming across clear, there's something outside of myself that exists. So it's perception of whether you're over there or I'm over here, or whether we're just in this space together. Construct, anyway. Or one last thing, context. We're all one, we're all together. Content, little separate individuals. Over.
Agreed. And from Jacques, it says, I think that the important thing here is to know what is God's will for us. And something you said, Anne, that reminded me, and I can't remember what religion this is or philosophy, but God was lonely and he wanted to learn more about, wanted to learn more. And so he split
He wanted
himself.
to get to know himself, yeah.
Yeah, he wanted to get to know himself. And the only way he could do that was by creating the rest of us.
Yeah, that's a Sufi teaching, Nanette. It says that I was a hidden treasure and I longed to be known, which is
Very
why
good. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry about that.
I don't believe God has a will for us, because God is not separate from us.
But I think to want to be known means want to be conscious of me, right?
I agree.
Nanette, I'm just shocked that you're not thinking of unity when you're carrying that big basket of laundry up the stairs.
Yeah.
How could you not?
You know, I'm at my age, I'm concentrating on getting up the steps or down the steps without falling. You know, self-protective.
That's because you don't think that your life is eternal.
So that I could live through the fall, so to speak. Anybody else?
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Mary,
Please.
come on.
I'm just
Okay.
going to stick with this one word that comes up, which is construct. Construct. The way that we can structureize things. Okay.
I'm going to use the laundry as a time to consciously think about unity from now on.
Hey, Mary.
Couldn't hear that.
I'm
That's
going
an
to use the
inspiration.
laundry as a time to consciously think about unity from now on.
Yeah, that is kind of funny because that's probably what we'll all do when we're carrying our laundry basket next time. It's like, oh, don't forget, I am one with my laundry.
Lena.
Yeah, I was a bit puzzled with, I don't have the book, so I'm not sure if I can remember this correctly, but there was a word decided, and a word imagine that you are separate. And there was something about when you decided that you were, and I kept thinking, isn't that where the ego starts? The development of ego is when you start feeling this separateness. So I was kind of a bit troubled when it was said decided, because I don't think that was a decision. It's difficult for me to see it as a decision to feel separate.
I hear what you're saying, and for most of us, we're probably way too little to make. I don't know how we decided it either. I think it might even be a better word is that we've forgotten that we were not all. We've forgotten our oneness, and somehow or another, it got taught to us. Because I'm sure when we're little babies, we do believe in oneness. You know, it's something that we're trained, and then we accept the training. That's my best idea on that. Anybody else?
Well, I agree. And it goes back so far back in our human lineage that, we've forgotten. And, we're at this time right now, there's so much going on. And it's like Barbara Marx Hubbard says, we've got to evolve or devolve. So I think we're evolving to the awareness that we're all connected. But, who knows how far back in the human lineage that the forgetting happened. But, we have to be compassionate with the one who forgot.
In a few minutes, is that okay?
Pardon?
Anne?
Oh, I'm sorry. I didn't know I was on speaker. Apologize.
Oh, no worries.
Let me read this paragraph.
Okay.
Because I think it's the paragraph. No, I don't. I'm afraid to say her name now.
Lena, just tell me the page number, Linda, so I can be with you.
50. It's right. There's 3 dots, and then there's a break, and it's this paragraph. Until you awaken from your dream, the illusion of disunity from life will create a perceived need to survive. Before separation, you never questioned your survival. Only when you stepped away from life, me, and imagined yourself as separate, did life itself become that of which there was not enough. You began to make decisions about what you felt you had to do to survive, to have more life. So, in my realm, in my understanding, we came into form in order to experience. So we weren't the first things, right? We'd already created the planets. We'd created, things on the planet. We'd created animals and plants on the planet. And we then wanted to experience these things that we had created. And so we created human beings to come into form. And in my teachings, in my understanding, what caused the real break in the connection is actually the physical force of gravity. So we created the planet, we started putting things on the planet. Well, without gravity, nothing would stay on the planet. So we had to create a way to keep things on here. There are other planets, things won't stay. This planet, things stay because we created gravity. But it's like separation in my mind, the way I teach it is, it was an unintended consequence of creating form. And so everything originally was connected, and the original humans were connected, and we knew, and we were connected to source. And somehow this influence, the physical influence of 3D reality and gravity, basically, if you imagine a rubber band and you pull it hard enough, it will snap in the middle eventually because it can't sustain the pressure of the pull. And that's basically the visual that I use for describing what's happened to us. We all have strings, basically, that are attached to the toroidal energetic pattern around the planet and the one that's around the universe and all of that. And those strings have snapped because our vibrations have sunk. And that's this 3D world that we're sort of trapped in now, because we don't remember that we created it. And we look around and we think everything is real when everything is not real at all. And we look at these individual people and we think that they are separate from us, when, were we to remember, we would know that this is all a grand illusion. And we are one with all of it. I'm done. Thank you. Hope it helped.
Yeah, it helped to scare me, Linda.
Lindapedia. No, I think that was very helpful.
Because it ties it back to energy and to frequency and to vibration. And ultimately, I believe the way we enable ourselves to remember and connect with divine source is to raise our frequency, raise our vibration. It comes back to the David Hawkins teachings. Love or above. And that's why meditation and all of this energy work is so important, because it is what will allow the physical bodies to reconnect to the energy that's around them. And that reminds me, something else I was going to touch on is the ego. So to me, the way I interpret ego comes with the form of the body. Like, the ego isn't a separate thing. The ego is a part of how the physical body that we inhabit functions. And so this is fundamentally what I think is what's so I don't want to use the word wrong, but so stirred up in our society right now, is that people don't realize that they are wired, that they're not their bodies, and that their bodies actually have needs and specific encoding that cause the body itself, without the human spirit, to function. And so the body itself is where the ego actually comes from. That's the function of the ego, is to keep the physical form alive. It's the physical form, but we are not the physical form. And that's where so much of the confusion comes from, because we wake up in the morning thinking that we're this body, but we're not. We have this body. This body is what allows us to move through this 3D illusion that we're living in. But we have to learn how it works so that it's not in control. And so much of what's happening in society are people letting their bodies run their show. They're upset, they're mad, they're angry, and they're expressing that using their bodies without any thought or understanding of what's actually driving them, which is ultimately a lack of love within themselves. Over.
Hi, Sarah.
Well,
Somebody else talking at the same time.
go ahead, Sarah.
Okay. I was only going to say, I couldn't help noticing that today's topic is insufficiency, and all over our news this week has been about insufficient oil and sanctioning oil across the world. And for me, that's such a big example of this illusion of insufficiency.
Yeah.
Over.
Yeah, and talking about vibration, I've been having a practice. I enter my 30th year next year. It's called the Essene Book of Days, and you have a morning meditation and an evening blessing, and it follows the seasons and the cycles of nature. And in the summertime, on a Saturday evening blessing, there is a vibration that emanates from me, and whatever I do, mingling with, enhancing, or detracting from the universal vibration, depending on the quality of my intent. I commit myself to a positive enhancement of the universal energy with each thought and act that I create. And we're programmed from a very early age not to know that your thoughts are things, right, that go out into the universe.
I just wanted to ask Linda, did you say, Linda, that it was accidental that we became separate beings, or was it purposeful?
I think it was accidental. I think it was an unintended consequence of physical form.
Okay. I think it was Bruce Lipton who said on Global Oneness, he was saying how we haven't evolved, and we actually came to Earth as humans, that we didn't evolve from.
Yeah, he did say that, Angela, and he said we came in about 200,000 years ago, I think.
Yes, yeah.
And
yeah, I would tend to agree with that. That we didn't evolve from apes. We created apes, then we created ourselves. We're playing around. I mean, it makes sense. Think about it. Think of a child in a playground. What do they start out with? They don't start out building the big exorbitant sand castle. They start out with little things, and they work their way up. And so as a creator, we created the planet. It was so pretty. We put some water on it. We put these animals. We made these other animals, and then we figured, okay, well, look at that animal. Now that's kind of interesting. Now maybe we could make one of these, and we could make it stand up more straight and not have less hair. That's how I think it happened.
That makes sense to me. And about the ego also being an accident of physical form. That makes pretty good sense to me.
Sounds very exciting to me.
Sounds very what?
Exciting, the whole concept of what you're saying.
It's exciting to me just to have a way to understand it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well, I could relate to the part where it said that you make your mistakes and then you never learn from them, because that's my specialty. You know, I make the same mistake over and over and still don't learn. So, as far as I can tell, my life's a soap opera, and I've started to believe the illusion. I'm right into it. And the only time that this cracked, I'll never forget, is it was in the 1980s when AIDS was really big. And there was a program in which they were focusing in on a woman in Thailand or some Buddhist country whose husband had been having extramarital affairs and had given her AIDS. And she was lying on a hospital bed, which was extremely basic. She wasn't hooked up to IVs or anything. And she was obviously dying, and he was sitting beside her. He had AIDS, she had AIDS. They were looking skeletal. And she had not the slightest bit of blame or anger. And my jaw just crashed, because in North America, we're all into three things. The first one is blame. Then the other one is life insurance. Like, she would have been having a fit that, you cheated on me. Second one was, everyone that I know is paying into their life insurance so that their children will have a tidy sum when they die. That's all they ever talk about, is that, if I'm going to go, my family will have money. And the third thing is, someone died. It's just beyond tragic. That's the ultimate sacrifice. And this woman and her skeletal husband destroyed all three of these. Like, no one cared. They were being kind to each other. She wasn't mad about dying. And they weren't complaining about the nurses or the medication. They weren't going to sue anyone for not putting an IV in them because it was unheard of there. So that's the first time I ever understood that all of life is a soap opera, and that we're all into the illusion, and that a lot of actors in the soap opera start to believe that they're actually the character that they're playing, because these shows go on for decades and they have high ratings. So that's one of the problems. So as far as I can tell, that was the only time that it ever broke for me.
In the Thai culture, back before AIDS was so rampant, the men would go to see the prostitutes after dinner. It was just part of their culture, and that went on until the onset of AIDS. And then you had places in northern Thailand where 75% of the population was infected with HIV. And the World Health Organization gave Thailand till the year 2000 to change their behavior. If not, it would have been a very, very dire situation for the country. But they did change their behavior. And, it's no longer the norm for men to go out and visit prostitutes after you've had a family dinner or something. But it was part of the culture for a very long time. Over.
Well, apparently, Christine, it was part of the royal family's thing too, is that you had mistresses other than your official wife. But none of that can keep any one of us from going 6 feet under. No matter how we change our culture, we're all going to die. But here in North America, anyway, in Canada for sure, we all cling to the illusion so tight of separateness. And, the litigation and all that is all about the money. And for Linda to say that we need to change the vibration, I'm just grateful that there are 12 of us here, because let's do it.
Well, and we are changing the vibration, with each new day, we're up leveling. And, personally, I know a lot of people that don't have life insurance, and I'm one of them. And I have car insurance and house insurance because I have to have those things in order to own a house and drive a car. But I don't feel the need to have insurance, and I'm certainly not a litigious person.
So 2 out of 3 ain't bad.
You're funny.
Funny. Yeah. Well, we're coming up on the end of the hour. Shabana, do you want to lead us in a meditation?
Do I ever? And I'm going to blame it all on Linda.
Okay.
Lord God, Linda scared us half to death, at least me anyway. So here we are, all 12 of us, eager, and there's Angela Duck laughing. I'm glad someone thinks I'm funny. Because I sure do. If we didn't laugh, I don't know what we'd do. So here we are, stringing our hearts and our consciousness together. I was going to say in desperation and fear, but that's another illusion. In hope and excitement that our pooled energy and our common desire to be truer and to stop patching up illusions and just being grateful that the shattered pieces of our separateness and insufficiency, of our need and fear, are now unified in this meditation. We believe that life and love and integrity are one, and that because we are together here and now, our common purpose to heal our own hearts and to heal all of the planet is honored by you now. Amen.
Thank you, Shabana.
Thank you, Nanette. Seeing as there's no time, I figured that our intention has delivered our request already. So everyone can walk around feeling that it's done, because I believe it is.
Thank you, Shabana. That was awesome.
Thanks, Shabana.
Thank you. I have a Sufi master who goes on and on about, oh, the tragedy. And people complain about him. They say, I don't know what your disciples think of you.
Well, they're people too. So, all right.
Well, I just found that Linda was a lot more fun, you know.
Yeah.
She scared us, but we can do something about it.
Well, now how many people are not going to be able to be here next week?
I won't be here. Christine won't be here.
Okay, well then let's just plan on meeting up again, same time, same channel.
Have a glorious week, everybody.
Yep.
Everybody vote.
Yep. Those of you who can vote, go vote.
Yeah.
I would, but I'm in Canada, so. But I
Yep.
support people that really want to protect the environment.
Yep. Agreed. Fingers crossed. All right. Love you guys. We'll
Yeah,
talk.
love you all. See you next.
And remember, there's no such thing as insufficiency.
That's right.
Yeah, thank you, Linda, for the reminder.
Okay. All right.
Love you all.
Love you all.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.